Okay, so I've let these handles set before I was even playing with them, playing around with where they go, so that they're firm and so that I'm mucking them all up. This other clay, along with these handles, I'm going to keep wrapped up really tight, of course, so it doesn't dry out. And like if that clay was kind of stiffened up a little bit, I would have put the hole, made it into a cookie, put the holes in it, filled the holes with water so as to prepare it. Now we're going to talk about attaching these handles, all right? I like to come around here and make a mark on the high side and the low side of each handle. Now what has to happen is basically the same thing that we did for applying the first coil to the base. And what that is we want to put just a little bit of slip underneath where that handle's going to connect there and where it's going to connect here. And then we want to come in there and score this a bit. Now, with your handle, my handles are not that dry. If you've allowed your handle to dry a little bit, which I typically don't like to do, I don't like it to dry too much, just enough so I can touch it without messing it up. But I don't like to let it dry too much. If you let it dry too much, you got to come and you got to slip and score the handle too. I like to have it be a little bit wet. Sometimes I slip and score it anyway, but if it's too wet, I can't handle it. If it's dry, I have to slip and score it. Then if it gets really leather hard though, I can't really adjust it once I've applied it. So you slip and score both surfaces, and then you want to kind of firmly push this handle in. See, here's that angle again coming into play. I can come underneath here and really push that into that space that I slip and scored. And then I'm kind of just pushing flat from the outside. Notice how I'm not using my fingertip. I'm trying to use wider parts of my finger so they don't make some sort of big mark. And then you can always wet your finger and kind of come across it and inside of that negative space and kind of move things around a little bit. When your finger's wet though, it's really difficult to move the clay. Your finger just slides on the clay. So there's a time to have more of a dry hands and time to have wet hands. So think about that. The other thing I could have obviously done is gone back and made better handles. As this is just a demonstration pot, I'm not that worried about it. But I could have taken the time to make handles that were more similar, or I could just kind of let that go. This handle is pretty darn wet. I'm still going to slip and score it a little bit. It's good to have handles that stay on. Now, if my pot is really dry, am I going to have a handle stay on? No. So having said that, do you guys have to have handles or spouts on all your coil pots? No. You don't, but I'd like to see an attempt at handles or an attempt at spouts on at least one of your coil pots. It's totally up to you. But I am gonna, for a grade, you're gonna have to experiment with handles or spouts on at least one of the pots. People who are ahead and the coil building is coming easy to, not many of you. I wish it came that easy to me when I first tried it, but you can go ahead and make a third, because these coil pots, they have to make it through the firing still, right? So it's great because we have record of whatever you submit, and just do that. Whatever progress you make, just submit. Then I'll be able to see where you're at and I'll be able to give you good advice, okay? So right now, the points and what's due, it's important, but what's most important is that you keep working and keep kind of touching in so I can know how to get you to that next step. Everybody's going to get as far as they're going to get, all right? That's how it's going to go. But I want you to get a good rhythm of working, okay? So there's your handle making demo. You're kind of like being creative with handles too, right? And now we're putting them on. All right, now when I get this thing all done and exactly how I want it, I want to wrap it up still pretty tight so it dries evenly. I know I've got one more handle to put on. Now, if I'm thinking of experimenting with a spout on this, though, I've got to get my paper towels out. I got to get this thing tightly wrapped up without disturbing those handles all over again. Okay? All right.